It's a tranquil morning in Hayward, California, 2018. The sun peeks over the horizon, casting long shadows across a quiet suburban street. A 74-year-old retiree, John Arthur Getreu, shuffles to his front door, coffee mug in hand, answering a knock from a stranger who looks flustered. "I'm so sorry," the man stammers. "Clipped your car while turning around in your driveway. But this is no ordinary fender bender." The stranger is an undercover cop, and John is about to step into a trap that will unravel a 45-year-old secret so chilling it'll haunt you for days. Welcome to the Crime Decoder, where we dig deep into the darkest corners of true crime to expose the truth. It's August 8th, 2018, in a modest neighborhood in Hayward, California. John Arthur Getreu, a 74-year-old man with thinning gray hair, wire-rimmed glasses, and a soft-spoken demeanor, opens his front door to a stranger. The man, dressed casually in jeans and a polo shirt, shifts nervously. "Hey, I'm really sorry," he says, scratching his head. "I was turning around in your driveway and accidentally bumped your car. It's probably just a scratch, but I feel awful." "Which one?" John asks, stepping onto his porch, his small terrier yapping at his heels. He points toward the driveway, where two cars, a silver sedan, and an older pickup are parked. "The silver one out front," the stranger replies, gesturing vaguely. "Want to take a look? We can check the damage, maybe swap insurance info if it's bad." John, trusting and slightly annoyed, grabs his jacket and follows, his slippers scuffing against the concrete. His dog trails behind, tail wagging. As they reach the driveway, the stranger's tone shifts abruptly. "Turn around, John. Face the car, hands behind your back." Before John can process the words, two deputies in plain clothes emerge from a nearby unmarked van, his movements swift and coordinated. One deputy, a tall man with a buzz cut, pats John down, checking for weapons. "Anyone else in the house?" he asks, his voice calm but authoritative. "No, my wife's at work," John replies, his brow furrowing in confusion. "What's this about?" The deputies ignore the question, guiding the dog back inside and securing the door. They lead John to a black police cruiser parked across the street. "Take a seat, John," the buzz-cut deputy says, opening the front passenger door. As the door shuts with a heavy thud, John flashes a faint, almost amused smile. "That was a damn clever line to get me out of the house," he says, shaking his head. He thinks this is a routine stop, maybe a misunderstanding. He has no idea the storm that's about to break over him. Let's rewind to early 2018, inside the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office, where a team of cold case investigators huddles around a cluttered desk. They're revisiting a case that's haunted the department for 45 years. The 1973 murder of Leslie Marie Perlov, a 21-year-old Stanford graduate. Found strangled in the Stanford Dish hiking area. Her case went cold, despite exhaustive efforts in the 1970s. No suspects, no leads until now. The game changer? Advances in forensic DNA technology and genetic genealogy. Investigators extract biological material skin cells from under Leslie's fingernails and upload it to GEDmatch, a public genealogy database. Over weeks, they meticulously build a family tree, cross-referencing DNA markers with public records, birth certificates, and ancestry data. The trail leads to a shocking name, John Arthur Getreu. To the outside world, John is a model citizen, husband of 40 years, father of 2 grown children, and former Boy Scout leader. He's lived quietly in Hayward, tending his garden and walking his dog. But the DNA match is undeniable, linking him to Leslie's murder with a probability of 1 in billions. The team uncovers another bombshell. John's DNA also matches evidence from a second murder in the same area, that of 21-year-old Janet Ann Taylor in 1974. To bring him in without spooking him, investigators craft a plan. The car accident ruse. It's a low-key way to get John out of his house and into custody without resistance. On August 8th, 2018, the trap is sprung, and now, John sits in an interrogation room, unaware of the evidence stacked against him. The interrogation room is stark, with gray walls, a metal table, and 2 chairs. John sits across from Sergeant Daniel Carter, a 20-year veteran with a calm demeanor and a knack for reading people. A small camera in the corner records every word, every gesture. "I'm Sergeant Carter, John," he begins, his voice steady. I'm going to explain why you're here today, but first let's confirm some details. Full name? John Arthur Getreu. Getreu. John spells out. Leaning back in his chair, arms crossed. He seems relaxed, almost bored as he recounts his life story. Born in Newark, Ohio, on August 26, 1944, he grew up moving frequently due to his father's career as a career Army officer. From Ohio to Virginia to Texas, his childhood was a blur of new schools and new faces. In 1958, at 14, his family settled in West Germany, living on a U.S. military base near Frankfurt. John attended American schools, played baseball, and soaked up the vibrant culture of post-war Europe. Carter nods, scribbling in a notepad. Ever been arrested before, John? John's eyes flicker, just for a split second. He shifts in his seat. Well, yeah, in Germany, he admits. His tone almost casual, like he's recounting a minor traffic ticket. For what? Carter presses, his pen pausing. They accused me of murder, John says, his words landing like a thunderclap. The air in the room thickens. John explains that in 1963, at 18, he was convicted of murdering 15-year-old Margaret Williams, the daughter of a military chaplain. On a Saturday night, Margaret attended a dance at the American Youth Club on the base. Witnesses saw John, a tall, lanky teenager, walking her home afterward. The next morning, her body was found on a baseball diamond behind the club, sexually assaulted and strangled with her own scarf. I didn't even know her, John insists, his hands clasped tightly on the table. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Why'd they arrest you then? Carter asks, his voice measured but probing. Someone saw me walking toward the school or something, John says, shrugging. They found her body the next day, and I guess I was the easy target. He was tried in a German juvenile court, sentenced to 10 years, but released after 6 due to his age. They flew me back to the U.S., dropped me at McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey. My dad picked me up, and that was it. Never heard another word about it. Carter jots a note, his face unreadable. A murder conviction at 18 isn't just a red flag, it's a neon sign. Carter shifts gears, his tone sharpening. Let's talk about Palo Alto, 1975. There was an accusation of sexual assault from the Palo Alto Police Department. What happened there? John's jaw clenches, his fingers tapping the table. I was a Boy Scout leader, running an explorer post for teens, he says. They interviewed me about some allegation, but it went nowhere. I was never charged, never arrested. The official records tell a different story. In 1975, John, then 31, was accused by a 16-year-old girl in his explorer post. She claimed he lured her to a secluded area during a scouting event, assaulted her, strangled her until she nearly passed out, and threatened to kill her if she told anyone. John pleaded guilty to a reduced charge of battery, receiving a 6-month sentence, but served only 30 days on weekends after 5 months were suspended. Nothing happened, John repeats, his voice flat, almost defiant. They questioned me. I told them it was nonsense, and that was it. I never saw that girl again. Carter leans forward, his eyes locked on John. A teenage girl accuses you of assaulting and strangling her, and you're saying it was nothing? It just went away? Yeah, John says, waving a hand dismissively. It was a misunderstanding. They dropped it. Carter's pen scratches another note. The similarities are chilling. Young female victims, strangulation, and a pattern of violence that's starting to feel like a signature. Now Carter zeroes in on the real reason John's here. John, are you familiar with the Stanford Dish hiking area near Page Mill Road, just west of Stanford University? John shakes his head quickly, almost too quickly. No, never been there. I hiked with my Boy Scouts in other places, like Half Moon Bay or the Santa Cruz Mountains, but not Page Mill Road. Carter slides a photograph across the table, a vibrant color image of Leslie Marie Perloff, a 21-year-old Stanford graduate with chestnut hair and a radiant smile. In February 1973, Leslie worked as a law clerk at the North County Law Library in Palo Alto, a job she loved. On February 13th, she left work, but never made it home. Her body was found the next day in the Stanford Dish hiking area, a rugged expanse of rolling hills popular with joggers and hikers. A floral scarf was knotted tightly around her neck, used as a ligature to strangle her to death. DNA extracted from skin cells under her fingernails, likely from a struggle with her attacker, Matches John's profile with near-perfect certainty. At the time, John worked as a security guard at a tech firm near the Stanford campus, giving him easy access to the area. "Ever see her before?" Carter asks, studying John's face. "No, she doesn't look familiar," John says, barely glancing at the photo. Then, almost casually, he adds, "She looks like a Stanford grad, though, by her clothes and the fact you're asking about that area." Carter pounces, his voice sharp. "I didn't say she was a Stanford grad, John." John's eyes dart, and he backtracks. "Just a guess, her style. Looks like a college kid, and you said Stanford, so I figured." Carter notes the slip, his pen pausing. Leslie's 1972 orange Chevrolet Nova was found parked at the gate of an abandoned quarry near Old Page Mill Road, just east of where her body was discovered. "Ever stop by a car like that? An orange Chevy Nova? Maybe check it out?" Carter asks. "No, never," John says, his voice firm, but his hands fidgeting. "I don't know the name Leslie Perlov. Never met her, never seen her." Carter leans back, unconvinced. The DNA evidence is a slam dunk, and John's slip about Leslie's background is a crack in his armor. As the interrogation intensifies, John makes a critical mistake that shifts the entire case. "You're talking about the two girls, right? The one on the hill, and the other one," he says, his voice trailing off as he realizes his error. Carter's head snaps up, his eyes narrowing. "Two girls?" "John, I only mentioned one." The room goes silent, the hum of the fluorescent lights suddenly deafening. John's face freezes, his hands clenching into fists. He's inadvertently referenced another murder, one Carter hasn't brought up yet. On March 24th, 1974, 21-year-old Janet Ann Taylor, a student and part-time waitress, was found in the same Stanford dish hiking area near Sand Hill Road, just a year after Leslie's murder. Like Leslie, Janet was sexually assaulted and strangled, her body dumped in a ditch. DNA extracted from the torn crotch of her underwear matches John's profile with chilling precision. "I must have misunderstood," John stammers, his voice shaky. "You mentioned a hill, so I thought you meant two cases or something." Carter presses harder, his tone unrelenting. "You said two girls. Who's the second one, John?" "What do you know about another girl?" "I don't know, I got confused," John mutters, his eyes darting to the floor. "You're talking about the hill, so I just assumed." But the investigators aren't buying it. The similarities between Leslie and Janet's murders are striking. Both in their early 20s, both killed in the same secluded hiking area, both strangled after sexual assault. John's unprompted mention of a second victim is a glaring red flag, suggesting he knows far more than he's letting on. A second investigator, Detective Maria Ramirez, enters the room, her presence commanding. A veteran of cold casework, she's known for breaking tough suspects. "John, let's cut the nonsense," she says, sitting down and folding her arms. "Your DNA is on both of these victims, Leslie Perlov and Janet Taylor. It's not there by accident. It's a type of DNA where it's found on their bodies under Leslie's fingernails. In Janet's clothing, there's no other explanation. You committed these crimes. We know it. We just want to know why." John's eyes narrow, his voice tight. "I'm not guilty. I don't know how my DNA got there. You knew this day was coming, didn't you?" Ramirez says, leaning forward, her gaze piercing. John's facade cracks for a moment. "Yeah, but why did it take so damn long?" He snaps, his words a fleeting admission that cuts through his denial. Ramirez lays out the evidence like a prosecutor at trial. DNA linking John to both murders, his 1963 conviction for Margaret Williams' murder in Germany, the 1975 assault in Palo Alto, his job as a security guard near Stanford in 1973 and 1974, giving him intimate knowledge of the dish area. "What are the odds, John?" she asks, her voice low and intense. "Your DNA on two murdered women, killed the same way, in the same place, a year apart, and you're telling us it's a coincidence? You were there? You did this?" John's hands tremble, his knuckles white. "I don't know how it got there," he repeats, his voice weaker now. "Maybe it's a mistake. Maybe someone else. DNA doesn't lie." John Carter interjects. "And you just mentioned a second girl we didn't tell you about. How do you explain that?" John's composure crumbles. Sensing the walls closing in, he shuts down. "I want a lawyer," he says firmly, folding his arms and staring at the table. The interrogation ends, but the truth is already spilling out. John Arthur Getreu's double life collapses like a house of cards. On August 8th, 2018, He's arrested and booked into the Santa Clara County Main Jail with a $10 million bond. Charged with the first-degree murders of Leslie Marie Perlov and Janet Ann Taylor. The evidence is overwhelming. DNA matches from both crime scenes, his documented history of violence, and his presence in the Stanford area during the murders. The legal process moves swiftly. On September 14, 2021, after a trial that grips the Bay Area, a Santa Clara County jury finds John guilty of first-degree murder with the special circumstance of infliction of great bodily injury in the killing of Janet Taylor. The courtroom is packed with Janet's family, some weeping as the verdict is read. John, stone-faced, is sentenced to 7 years to life in prison, a term that ensures he'll never walk free again. On January 10, 2023, John pleads guilty to the murder of Leslie Perlov, sparing her family the pain of a second trial. The judge hands down a second consecutive life sentence, cementing his fate. Leslie's sister, who has waited nearly 5 decades for justice, delivers a heart-wrenching victim impact statement describing the hole left in their family. On September 22, 2023, John Arthur Getreu dies of natural causes in a California prison hospital at the age of 79. His death marks the end of a decades-long reign of terror that claimed at least 3 lives: Margaret Williams, Leslie Perlov, and Janet Taylor, and possibly more. His DNA remains in California's combined DNA index system, where it's actively compared against evidence from other unsolved murders across the state and beyond. Each match brings the potential to close another case, offering closure to families who've waited years for answers. The case of John Getreu is a landmark in the world of cold case investigations. Without advancements in DNA analysis and genetic genealogy, his crimes might have remained buried forever. The Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office, working with forensic genealogists and the FBI's DNA lab, turned to cold cases into convictions, proving that justice can prevail even after 45 years. The Stanford murders also highlight the power of persistence. Detectives, scientists, and victims' families never gave up, keeping Leslie and Janet's memories alive. Their work has inspired other departments to revisit unsolved cases, using DNA to shine a light on long-forgotten crimes. John's DNA profile continues to be a critical tool, potentially linking him to other murders in California, Ohio, or even Germany, where he lived as a teenager. The case also serves as a stark reminder of how predators can hide in plain sight. John lived as a husband, father, and community member, coaching Little League, attending church, and blending seamlessly into suburban life. His story underscores the importance of vigilance and the relentless pursuit of truth. Thanks to cutting-edge DNA tech and dogged investigators, this serial killer was finally brought to justice, giving closure to the families of Leslie Perlov, Janet Taylor, and Margaret Williams. Together, let's keep decoding the darkest mysteries and honoring the victims who deserve justice. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and we'll catch you in the next episode of the Crime Decoder.